André sou eu mesmo.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. So we are here for one more weekly study group. Thank you. So going to the news. So first of all, thank you very much for everyone that went to our FESTA JUNINA. It was a great event. I think everyone loved it.
Yeah.
I love it. So it was really good. It was really fun. We did a lot of good things. We worked a lot, but we ate a lot, but we had a lot of fun too. So thank everyone, and yeah, next year we'll have more. So going to I almost forgot. So if you need any, if you are passing through some difficult times, and if you need to have a chat, to talk to someone, we have our fraternal assistance, and it happens 30 minutes before our weekly study group. And if you need, just send us a message on Facebook or Instagram, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and when we can schedule a day, so one of us will be available to talk to you and recommend some books, and yeah, just like a fraternal assistance. And we are back with the spiritual treatment as well every Wednesday. So after our meeting, we have the spiritual treatment, the passing, and yeah, if you need, just come by, and we'll be able to assist you. And that's it for news today, right?
You talk about the lecture. You talk about the lecture.
Oh yeah, sorry, one more. So next week is a lecture. So last month we did in Portuguese. So this one will be in English, and Mani will do the lecture for us. And the title is Sermon of the Mountain.
Yeah, sermon on the Mount.
On the Mount. Yes. I hope that everyone can watch. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, I hope I can watch it too.
You are the only one that's mandatory to be. Yeah, that's all. So we are going to do our inspirational reading, and then I will be doing the initial prayer. Again, do you want to read for us? Do you want to read for us?
Yes, I can. So this is from the Living Spring, number 19, feeding. Feed my sheep, Jesus. The divine shepherd's request of Simon Peter's loving heart is highly significant for the continuance of his ministry. Seeing humankind as his immense flock, Jesus does not tell Peter to use drastic measures to impose discipline. No yelling or scoldings, no prisons or gallows, no whips or rods, no punishment or imposition, no abandonment of unfortunates or flagellation of the wired, no lamentation or despair. Peter, feed my sheep. That is to say, brother, support those who are needier than you. Do not let rebelliousness discourage you, nor condemn people's errors, from which a beneficial teaching will arise later on. Help your neighbors instead of chastising them. Teach always. Be a faithful worker. Be demanding of yourself, and support the unfirming and fragile hearts that follow you in your footsteps. If you sow the good, time will take care of the germination, growth, blossoming, and fructification at the right moment. Do not criticize, thus destroying. A novitiate today may be a mentor tomorrow. Support your neighbor's good side and go forward. Live life will transform all evil into rubbish, and the Lord will do the rest.
Thank you, Carol. So let's prepare for our initial prayer. Dear God, lovely Master Jesus, good spirits here today, we'd like to ask permission to begin one more study meeting. We'd like to ask that our mentors, the protector spirits, be with us today so we can have good thoughts and inspiration and be able to pass on the knowledge, and we can move on with our lives and always thinking about those teachings and be able to apply them everywhere that we go. Stay with us always, so be it. Cool. So last week we started chapter 25 on the gospel, and let me check the title. I forgot. Seek and you shall find.
Seek for the title and you shall find.
Yeah, true, true. And we just went through the first three topics. Let me
Should I
just,
do you want me to help you?
uh,
So you can talk?
yeah, you can keep that. I will be using it.
Or I mean the other way around. Do you
Oh,
want me to
yeah,
do
thank you.
that?
So
I
we
find
are
it really hard to
on
do
item
the
4 now, yeah?
Yeah, so we just read the first three items, and so it's a really interesting topic. So we just started about talking about how we need to do or what we need to do to receive help from. I don't know, there is a number. So I think you just go to the beginning of the chapter, and it should be easy to find. Yeah, so we are just talking about help yourself and the heaven will help you, and we discuss a little bit about what are the things that we are going through our lives, and sometimes not always what we ask for is what we need, and God will always going to provide what we need, not what we ask. And sometimes we are passing through difficult times, and for example, we're going to be asking for more patience to go through those difficult times, and then what God will give us is more situations to test our patience, not the other way around. So they are not going to remove all the difficulties on our lives, and the good spirits, they understand that. So they will see, and they're going to I don't remember the word we use, but you're going to sympathize with the difficulties that we are going through, but they are not going to remove them because they know that this is what we need at the time that we need to learn, and then after that difficulty, we are going to learn more. And because we are in a world of trials and expiations, and we're always going to be tested, we're always going to have to go through the expiation part as well. But it's just like tests that we have to go through, and that's it. There is no way for us to run away. And yeah, basically, I think that's all that we discuss. Do you want to add anything else?
No, that's fine. It's perfect. Perfect review.
So we are on topic or item 4. Do you want to read first?
Yeah, I can read, no problem.
Thank you.
Item 4. It is through the application of this principle that spirits do not come to spare humans the work of research by bringing them discoveries and inventions that are completed and ready to produce in such a way that they would only have to take what was put in their hands without having to go to the trouble to bend down to pick it up or even to think about it. If that were the case, the laziest individuals could enrich themselves and the most unlearned become wise at no cost, and both would receive merit for what they have not done. No, the spirits do not come to exempt humans from the law of labor, but to show them the objective they must reach and the way that will lead them to it, saying to them, press on and you shall arrive. You will find stones under your feet. Look and remove them yourself. We will give you the strength you need if you wish to use it. The Medium's Book, Part 2, Chapter 27, 26, Numbers 291.
Yeah,
Going?
I think you can read one more, and then you can stop for comments.
From the moral point of view, these words of Jesus mean, ask that the light might enlighten your way, and you will be given to you. Ask for the strength to resist evil, and you will have it. Ask for the assistance of the good spirits, and they will come to accompany you. And like the angel of Tobit, they will serve as your guides. Ask for good counsel, and it will never be refused to you. Knock at our door, and it will be opened to you. But ask sincerely with faith, fervor, and trust. Present yourself with humility and not arrogance, otherwise you will be left to your own devices, and your failures will be punishment for your pride. Such is the meaning of the word, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be open to you. Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear, the message that we need to do the work. We need to, in order to receive the rewards, you need to put the work in. It's not because we ask for something or believe that we need something. Not necessarily we're going to be able to have it straight away. We need to work towards it. So this chapter is like a preparation for the prayer, the effectiveness of prayer. How people say, "Oh, but if prayer is not effective, okay, I keep praying for something to happen. I keep asking for things to happen, but they don't happen. But because they're not going to be given to you freely. You need to be willing to put your effort and your work into it, to be able to reap it. Just like if you want to harvest strawberries, you cannot plant thorns or thorn bushes. You need to plant strawberries. If you can't plant asparagus if you want strawberries, so you have to work towards what you want, so you'll be able to receive it. I think it's pretty clear, but it's hard to put into practice, right? Sometimes we need to really focus on what the goal is, and instead of just asking for things, trying to work towards them and making sure that we accomplish what we need to do. So, yeah, I think that's what I got from it.
Thank you, Manny. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that sometimes when we pray, when we ask something, the Spirit and God just show us the door, the direction, but we have to walk. We have to, yeah, we have to complete the work. So someone said that God produces things across using our hands, and it's not fair. Ask and stay and wait. We have to act.
That's really good. Thank you.
Yeah, like in the beginning, that he was saying, like, oh, you can't expect something to fall on the ground and for us to pick it up for you. You don't even have to bend down to pick it up. This would just make people lazy, right? And earlier in the chapter, as we discussed on the last study group, he also talks about how we need to work in order for progress to happen, right? So if there were no trials and expiations, if there were no obstacles, we would become lazy. We would never advance. We would never work for anything. And what happens with things that we didn't work for? What comes easy goes easy, right? We just take them for granted. So our nature is to value those things that we fought for, that we had to work hard for, way more than the things that come easy to us. So, so many times we take for granted our family or the love from our friends, for our family, because it comes really, most of the time, really easy, right? It's something that you have, majority of us are lucky to have, always have. We tend to value the things that we work really hard for because we feel we earn that. So we need to learn to look around us and perceive and understand that everything we have, everything we go through life has been granted to us somehow, and that everything that we're going through, we earned it. It might not have been in a clear way that you can see, oh, I planted here and it grew here. I planted the seed, I saw the seed, I put it there with my own hands. Maybe something you planted in past lives, maybe something early this incarnation you planted there and only now it's blossoming. Good or bad, we made it happen. So how do we honor everything that is happening to us, and how to be grateful for things when they are good or bad? We understand that this is the way we're going to keep moving forward. This is the way that we're going to keep evolving. So I think it has so much to do with what we'll talk next on 6, that we need to be observant and understand more and be grateful for the whole. And for sure, when we pray, observe what we're praying for, how we're praying, how we are putting, what we're focusing our energy on. If it is just asking for results, or actually asking for the strength and the knowledge and the patience to get there, you know. And like Andrea said, most of the time, when we ask for something, we're gonna get the means to receive that thing. So it means if I keep asking for patience and keep getting tested, you know, you get what you ask for. If you seek, you shall find. So that we also have to be very careful what we wish for. Right?
Thank you, Carol. I just have one more thing to add. Is on the end of the item 4. It is talking about that the spirits that help us, they're not going to exempt us from the law of labor. So it is a law, and then we have to labor. So we discussed, like, I don't know, 1 month ago on the chapter about strange morals, that the peace that Jesus didn't bring is not that peace that's going to exempt us to work. So work is the law, and we have to do it. So that's, and we can have peace while we were working. It's not the other way around. Like many of people here in Earth, they think that what the peace means. So, and here they are then giving that example. So you're going to find like stones under your foot, and we are going to give you the strength to remove those stones, but we're not going to go and remove these stones for you. So that is not the way that is supposed to happen.
Yeah. No, it's interesting that mention about the exempt from the law of labor, because we think about work and we think about the work that we do in society for material gains, but from a spiritual point of view, we're all here working, doing everything that we do, everything that we learn, everything that we do for somebody else, even if we don't get paid for it, is work, and is work towards our progress. You say the spirits come to show us the objective of that, which is to grow as spirits, to grow morally, and the only way to do it is by working. But what kind of work? By doing charity. So it's and to do that, you need to to ask for the strength, for the patience, for the resignation, for the courage to actually be more charitable, to work more, to be more effective, to spread a little bit of what Jesus told us, and taught us, to be kinder, to be. Of course, we are still in these baby steps, but yeah, I think it's interesting. There's no way around that law of labor.
Yep.
We have to struggle. That's how we're going to be. No, because any tool or any object that is left, by the rain or in a shed, it gets rusty. It gets rusty. It gets, if you leave a machete or a knife, by the elements, it's going to get rusty. It's going to get blunt. It's not going to be sharp. So it needs to be worked like anything. We are the same. We don't keep practicing our awareness and our self-discovery, and keep regulating our true objectives in life, we're going to get lost in that search for something that we don't need, and keep asking for things and forgetting to sometimes say thanks or appreciate or praise God as well in the spirit. So yeah, very cool. That law of labor. We need to work, like Rihanna says, work, 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 work.
Yeah, so the Spirit's books define labor as every use. It's difficult to translate.
Every useful
occupation. I think that would be the literal translation. But yeah, if you're doing something worth of your time, it means that you're laboring, you're working.
Yeah.
Cool. So I will read the next one. So observe the birds in the sky. I think I can read from there. Do not accumulate treasures on earth, where rust and worms corrupt them, and where thieves bury and steal them. But create treasures in heaven, where neither rust nor worms corrupt. For wherever your treasure is, that is your heart also. Thus I say to you, do not be anxious about where you will find something to eat for the sustenance of your life, or where you will get clothes to cover your body. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Observe the birds in the sky. They neither sow nor reap, nor do they store anything in barns. But your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not worth much more than they? And who among you, with all his effort, can increase his stature by 1 cubit? Moreover, why are you anxious about clothing? Observe how the lilies of the fields grow. They neither work nor spin. Nevertheless, I declare to you that Solomon himself, in all his glory, was ever dressed like one of them. Thus, if God has taken care to clothe in such manner an herb in the field, which exists today and tomorrow will be cast into the fire, how much more care, how much more care will He take in clothing you, O men of little faith? Therefore, do not be anxious, saying, "What will we eat? Or what will we drink? Or what will we wear?" As do the pagans who seek after all those things, because your Father knows what you need. Therefore, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you in evidence. So do not be anxious for tomorrow will take care of itself. Each day has enough evil of its own. Matthew 6:19 to 21, 25 to 35. So I think we can comment this part here is a big passage, and it's nice that uh, it's giving us some examples in the nature and seeing how perfect is the nature and how careful God has put everything on its place, then why we think that God didn't do the same thing for us or even more? Because here is saying that even that simple flower that lives for like, I don't know, 1, 2 days while bloom, it's not going to do the same for us that we live for like years, almost a century, and you can do a lot more for the other species, for the planet, and that's why he's comparing those things, and he's saying that people that think like that has little faith. So they know that if the birds are going to get fed, why you're worrying about what you're dressing or what you're going to eat? And then it's comparing that you have to be faith, because if we follow and keep doing the right work or following what Jesus teaches us, everything else is going to be added to our lives. So the divine providence will provide everything that we need if we are on the right path. That's it. Do you have anything to?
Yeah, I think the what caught my attention is that he actually a few couple of times he says, "Do not be anxious."
Yeah, several times.
Yeah, do not be anxious. That's the main thing. Like, of course, we're not going to be living carelessly, not worried about shelter, not worried about food, because we have to sustain our body. But I think we shouldn't be attached to that feeling of accumulating wealth, accumulating food, accumulating things that once our body our dies, we die in this reincarnation, our soul will continue on. So we shouldn't be too worried about, too attached to it. But in the same way, we shouldn't live carelessly, like not, be living on the streets or not being how we look after our body. At least we need to have some sort of standard of hygiene and look after our appearance, look after what kind of food we eat as well. So we have to look after that. But I think that what I got from it is the anxiety that can lead to it. For example, like we still have the pandemic going on, and it's not just I have faith in God and I'll ask for health and I don't care about anything else. I'll just go out with a mask. I won't clean my hands. I won't get vaccinated. Everything will be fine. God will provide because I have faith. And of course we have to do our part. We have to do our part, and we have to follow, and not. But on the other hand, not be anxious that you're going to be affected by anything. So it's a matter of balance, not living so carelessly, and just believe and have faith in without any reason, without any reasoning, but also not to be so attached and anxious about the things that you think that you need, but actually you just want them, but you don't actually need them. You can't live, around there. How many of us, during the last 2 years, we had to adapt to many different situations. Maybe, like in some households we didn't have both people working or just one person working. Sometimes they're not even nobody working, but most people, of course, sometimes struggling, but everybody's still alive and still surviving the situation. So about it's about having faith that things are happening. And even if they don't go as planned on this earth, they will continue on a different level that we don't know yet. So I think this something that occurred to me is that part. Do not be anxious. Do not be anxious. If the birds have enough food, and God looks after the animals, He's looking after you as well. But of course, you have to do your part. Yeah. That's the only thing I have to add.
Thank you, Manny.
And at the end, he said, each day has enough evil of its own. So I believe he was talking every day we have problem and difficulties and steps to do that day. So if we are anxious for the next day, sometimes we do not perform correctly in the correct day. Yeah, so worrying in about the future.
It is early on that the beginning of um, this the spirit's talk or Matthew talk. It says like, oh, don't accumulate treasures on earth where rust and worms corrupt them, and where thieves bury and steal them, but create treasures in heaven. And the last sentence is quite known, for wherever your treasure is, there is your heart also. So it's where are we letting our hearts sit on? Where is our focus? Are we a lot of the time we lose our focus on what is the reason why we are here on earth and what we should be seeking, what type of treasure we should be seeking. So many times on this turmoil of our careers and feeding our families and trying to progress in different ways so you can make more money, we can travel some more or have some more things, we get lost and forget what actually matters. And I think a lot of what the anxiety that Mani was talking for comes from there, that when we are seeking all these material things, we become really anxious because these goals that we set for ourselves, they're always changing. The goalpost is always moving forward, right? You're never gonna have enough. We're never gonna have enough. If you're always seeking material things, it's never gonna be enough. If you actually become a millionaire, you wanna be a billionaire. If you wanna, and so the goalpost is always gonna keep moving, and you become a really anxious person. You feel you're not entitled to sleeping or resting anymore because you need to keep working towards that goal. So why it's so difficult for us to actually set that goal towards things, towards treasures that are in heaven, towards treasures that cannot be measured. Why can't we be undefeatable on the pursuit of charity, of doing good, of helping the other person? And all comes to pride, or the things that you're searching are for yourself, are for your own goals, or are actually to keep improving, to actually help other people. When they are towards helping other people, there is some calmness onto it, on this type of action, that our faith becomes present and life becomes more balanced when we remember that the things that we are living here, the goals that we're moving towards, they don't have a way of being quantified, of being calculated, and that things will take their course, and our objectives, our goals, our role is actually quite small around this huge universe and everything that's going through. It's just really keep moving forward and doing as much good and helping as many people as we can.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting just looking through the slides as well. I think if you go one more, you can see that forward here. Moreover, yeah, when I actually highlight Solomon, that's he's comparing. So he's comparing the lilies of the fields, which don't think, they just naturally they are planted, they just grow, they sprout, and they bloom, they become a flower, and they are more beautiful than King Solomon himself, with all the riches that he acquired. So he said, I declare to you that King Solomon himself, in all his glory, was never dressed like one of the lilies. Because we have that worry, we have that anxiety, we have free will. We can choose what to follow and what to ask for, and how to work and how to progress. So even a little bit on the last one as well, about that each day has enough evil of its own, because a lot of the times we are actually, research has been done about this, that most of our thoughts are not in the present. About 47% of the time, we're either remembering the past, and most of the time regretting the past, or worrying about the future. And that's almost half the time, 47% of the time. There was a study on Harvard that people analyze people what they're thinking. You know? They're always thinking about planning for the future or worrying about the future and regretting or wondering about the past. And that's why, and that's one of the things that they were saying, don't worry about today or tomorrow. You know, today, each day has enough evil of its own. So we have to worry and have to work in the problems that we have today, in the challenges that we have today. Not so much, of course, we need to, once again, we need to plan for the day of tomorrow, but not to be anxious about it, you know. Plan it and have faith that it will happen. And if it doesn't happen, it's because it was not meant to happen. It's not the right time for it to happen. How many times we plan something and then something else happens? We're kind of pulled, the rug is pulled under our feet, and the whole thing, situation changes. But then what you thought it could happen in a month is going to happen in a year or later because that was the right time. So it's once again anxiety, and we have seen for the last 2 years a big problem of anxiety because of the uncertainty of the material world, and we still living in this world, and we still believe that we belong here. We do belong here, but temporarily we don't. This is not our origin, and it's not our destination. It's just a
Stage.
stage. Yeah.
Yeah. And what usually happens when those things doesn't happen for some reason, we kind of lose our faith.
Mm.
We get like angry. We go against God. But then later down, after 1 year, 2 years, something's happened, and it's if I had gone through that path like 2 years ago, I would not be here today. And then so that's why that time I was angry. I was feeling sad because the thing that I wanted didn't happen, but it was for the good.
Yeah.
But sometimes we cannot see that far ahead to understand that okay, it's not our time and it's always for our good. And some things we are only going to understand in the afterlife. So
Yeah.
it's not for us to understand everything for now.
Cool. Do we have time to? I think we can read. It's just the other two little bits to finish 7.
No?
I think there's 7 and 8. I think.
Oh, to finish that part.
Yeah.
Because we still have.
Oh yeah, but I mean just like this bit is just
to
7
be
or 7
to
and 8.
finish
It's
the
not really.
watch the birds
Yeah.
in the sky.
Do you want to read this other bit?
Yes, please.
Because that's the explanation by the spirits. What they
Yeah,
do.
that's it. Yeah. So yeah, it might not be a lot to comment after because it's more simply an explanation, so we probably can hop into the next one. Taken literally, these words will be the negation of all foresight and labor, and consequently of all progress. With such a principle, humans would reduce themselves to an expectant passiveness. Their physical and mental powers would remain inactive. If such had been their normal condition on the earth, they would have never left the primitive state. And if it were to become the law today, they would have nothing more to do than to live in idleness. This could not have been Jesus' thought, because it would be in contradiction with what he said elsewhere and with the laws of nature themselves. God created humans with neither clothing nor shelter, but gave them the intelligence to make them.
Mhm.
Chapter 14, number 6, chapter 25, number 2. Therefore, one should see in these words only a poetic allegory of providence, which never abandons those who put their trust in it, but which wills that they work alongside it. If providence does not always come to them with material help, it inspires them with ideas with which they may find the means of freeing themselves from their difficulty. Chapter 28, number 8. God knows our needs and provides for them according to what is necessary. However, humans, insatiable in their desires, never know how to be content with what they have. The necessities are not enough for them. They need the superfluous. It is then that providence leaves them to themselves. They are often unhappy due to their own fault, and for having disregarded the voice that warned them in their conscience. And God allows them to suffer the consequences so that they may serve as lesson for the future. Chapter 5, number 4. The earth will produce enough to feed all its inhabitants, when according to the laws of justice, charity, and love for one's neighbor. Should I carry on? I was right, it's almost done. The earth will produce enough to feed all its inhabitants, when according to the laws of justice, charity, and love for one's neighbor, people know how to manage the provisions it gives to them. When fraternity reigns among all people, as it does among the provinces of the same country, the temporary surplus of one will make up for the temporary insufficiency of another, and each will have what it needs. The rich will then regard themselves as those who possess a large amount of seed. If they scatter it, it will produce 100-fold for themselves and for others. But if they consume the seeds by themselves, if they waste it and allow the surplus of what they have consumed to be lost, the seed will produce nothing, and there will not be enough for everybody. If they hoard it, if they hoard it in their barns, the worms will devour it. That is why Jesus said, "Do not accumulate treasures on the earth, which are perishable, but create treasures in heaven, because they are eternal." In other words, do not attach more importance to material possessions than spiritual ones, and know how to sacrifice the former on behalf of the latter. Chapter 16, number 7. Charity and fraternity are not decreed by law. If they are not in the heart, selfishness will always stifle them. It is the labor of Spiritism to enable them to enter the heart. Yeah, I think it's just an explanation and more comments on what we talk about.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting, this idea, about once we take Jesus' maxims that he brought in examples, that we all children of God, there won't be the necessity for becoming selfish and just think about the richness of one country, because as we see more and more as a global economy and financially, if something affects one country, and we've been seeing lately, the struggle in the war, Ukraine and Russia, how that supply of energy and grains and food is affecting the whole world pretty much. So we all kind of connected in this big web of human lives and spirits living together. So yeah, it's and once we start to pay more attention to our true nature as spirits and start to understand, and we might be able to put to better use the idea of wealth and richness and the work that happens. And that is why I think in the last part we say Spiritism, it is the labor of Spiritism to enable them, charity and fraternity, to enter their heart, because by bringing the idea that we are not humans. I mean, we are humans at the moment, at present, but our origin is different. So our life will continue in the afterlife, and everything that we accumulate here is going to go to waste. So there's no point of fighting or just accumulating everything so that it will go to waste, because we can't take that to where we're going. So I think that's why by Spiritism bringing the idea that materialism is not the ideal for the future life. It's quite profound.
Yes. Thank you very much, Fanny. Any more comments before we jump into this book?
We don't have any comments online either. Just reminding, if you'd like to participate, guys, can send a message. We are here to chat with you as well.
Sure.
We would like to have you in person one day. But it's, if you would like to participate, you can send your questions or comments as well before we move to the other. Are we going to?
Choose first.
Yes.
Sorry, Guilherme, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, there is a kind of warning at the beginning that we have to work for our needs, otherwise we would be physical and mental, and our will be physical and mental powers will be remain inactive.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to use our intelligence, our energy, and our creativity to keep it working and provide ourselves our needs, but not so much. We have to pay attention to the anxiety.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's amazing that he was talking about that 2,000 years ago, and it seems like it's, for some reason, it's getting more problematic, with
More
the,
relevant.
yeah, more, which probably to show that, there's not, the answer is not in the material, because we have more technology, we have more medical, resources, we have more comforts than we ever had before. But we
Nothing
still,
to report.
yeah, but we're still very anxious. So the answer is not on the material things, obviously. We need to look for that beyond that, so we can.
I think it's really we have so much more, like so more than we ever had before in resources that make us as more anxious than we ever been before also. And there is this author called Zygmunt Bauman. So he talks about modern liquidity and modern liquid love, and he talks about how in the modern world anxiety is created because everything's so liquid, everything just goes by so quick that we can't live in the present, like you were saying before. Is that we have so much information going on that the more we know, the more we're convinced that we don't know anything, that we have to keep it connected all the time with the internet. It's impossible to disconnect from
Fear of
things.
missing out.
Exactly. You have the fear of missing out of everything. You sit down to have lunch with a friend and you're talking to another friend, which is in Brazil in a different time zone, on the phone all the time. The person is talking to you, but now your watch is buzzing and you're paying attention in two things at the same time. And that way we live the present less and less and pass to and start to live in the future so much that time fly by, and then you're anxious because time is going and you're not doing what you should be doing, or you're missing opportunities, you regret in the past, so you waste time thinking about the past. So it's just so much going on. We have access to so much now that it is true that when we live a simpler life, time passes slower. It's scientifically proven, that we don't have to go back to living in the countryside without electric power, like without energy. It's not that. It's just we need to, that concept of mindfulness, of enjoying, of being grateful, of enjoying the present, of living the moment, needs to be reassessed in our reality.
Yeah. Very insightful, Carol. Very insightful.
I'm inspired. I was actually reading about it yesterday. Yeah, it's really hard, but it's a concept that we talk about it a lot, and it's really hard to internalize it.
Thank you very much. So let's go to the spirits book. And now we're starting another topic. We still are on the intervention of spirits in the corporeal world. Last week we discussed about the affection of the spirits. So if it's related to previous lives, or if it's related to our behavior. So if you're like good or evil. And now we're going to be talking about the guardian angels, the protector familiar, or sympathetic spirits. So I will read the first one. 489. Are there spirits who link themselves to particular individuals in order to protect them? Yes, spirit friends. What we call good spirits or guardian spirits. Manny, can you read the next one?
Yeah. 490. What is a guardian angel? A protective spirit of a high order. I can't read another one because it was so short. 491. What is the mission of protector spirits? Their mission is that of parents toward their children, to guide their wards along the path of the good, to help them with their counsels, to console them in their afflictions, and to sustain their courage in the trials of earthly life. So just sometimes, as of course I was a child and I'm a parent now, sometimes we rebel against our parents, right? And so we have some stage where we don't want to listen to our parents. So I think the same things happen to us sometimes when we have these protective spirits trying to help us, trying to give us counsels, and because it's their job, it's their duty. And then what? So what we do affects them as well, because it's they're doing their best they can to try to give us counsels, and we are rebelling like a teenager,
Making their job harder.
making their job harder, will affect them as well. So I think as we have more perspective, I guess, as we grow older and we start to see a few things that get more and more imprinted into our conscience, what it's of the use of our free will, of the actions that we do and the consequences that they come. I think we become more in tune with this type of advices from these protective spirits. But just something that came to my mind, parents toward the children. And I was a child, and now I'm a parent. So, I can see sometimes, the same frustration that my children have with me, I used to have with my parents, and it's a normal cycle. So it just kind of come to my idea that sometimes we are rebellious because we are seeking for something, just going tying with the other reading. We want something that happens now, and we ask for God or our superior spirits to help us in a way that we want to be helped, but not the way that we need to be helped. So, and then by the time sometimes we realize, and then okay, maybe I'm not ready for this opportunity yet. I have to work towards something else. So, yeah, it's good to be in tune with the protective spirits and remember that they are there when you need them, but also remember that they are there when you achieve something with their help. Because sometimes you go, oh, yes, I did it, I made it, yes, but you forget to think, oh, I had a good counsel, I had a good help from the spirits. When we come to ask for help, we ask very quickly, but then when we come to acknowledge, the help of the superior spirits and God and Jesus and all the support that's behind us, we have to be like the actors, I like to thank my producer, my wife, my family, all the people that is behind you, my entourage, yeah. So.
Yeah, that's why it's important to connect it to our friends, our spirit friends, before starting any activity, even when you started working in the morning, when you start something different. So I remember once I was gardening, and first gardening don't need indeed to be assistance, but I asked. And during the activity, I had some branch hit my face, but I was wearing some glasses, so it protected me. So I remembered to thanks God, thanks my protectors for that.
It's important. We forget,
Yeah.
but with practice,
Yeah, it's very important.
So
should I read next?
Yes.
492 are protector spirits connected to particular individuals from birth? from birth to death. Uh, they frequently accompany them after death in the spiritual life and even through numerous corporeal existence, because these existences are no more than very short phases in the life of a spirit.
493. Is the mission of a protector spirit voluntary or obligatory? The spirit is obliged to watch over you because he has accepted the task. However, it is allowed to choose beings who are attuned to it. For some, it is a pleasure, for others, a mission or a duty. In linking itself to an individual, does the spirit refrain from protecting other individuals? No, but it does so less exclusively. I always find this when we get to this part of the chapter, it always reminds me how noble this mission of protecting someone, of actually, and in this part it says quite specifically, it says like, oh, it's not obligatory, but the spirit is obliged to watch over you because it has accepted the task. So the spirit makes this commitment, and it's the comparison it does to parenthood. It's like that, right? Without knowing what will happen, without knowing the path that the spirit will choose on the course of their lives, without knowing who they're going to grow up to be. You accept to be their guardians, you accept to protect them and be by their side from birth to death. So it's a big commitment that this spirit that we might know, that we might have a big connection with, and probably we have a big connection with. Um, it's a big commitment to be there alongside of what is for us here on earth, a long period, and for them probably not so long, as the time in the spiritual plane passes really different than it does for us here on earth. But it's still a huge commitment, a big responsibility to watch over someone into going through a life of trials and expiations as we are, and how comforting it is to know that even if we didn't get to have our parents here on this incarnation by our side all the time, that we do have someone, that we do have a spirit that is with us from beginning to end of this incarnation. And when we disincarnate, there will be someone there waiting to embrace us, to welcome us back to the real life, right? To back to the spiritual plane. So it is a huge comfort that a lot of the time we forget, and that for sure we get discomfort from the small tasks when we pray, when we remember being connected, but also when we fall asleep, when we have our meetings and in our so-called dreams and the moments that we are not so connected to the physical body. So it's to me is always this chapter, this part of the chapter is like a small hug from him, just a remembrance that you're never alone. That obviously we always remember about God being by our side, and sometimes forget that this spirit, not not as evolved as others extremely evolved spirits, made that choice to be by our side and help and be there for whatever we need.
Thank you. I think you want to read that last one, and then the 495 is a big one, so we can start that next week or in 2 weeks. So 494. Is the protector spirit indissolubly connected to the person who has been entrusted into its care? Certain spirits often leave their position to carry out different assignments, but in such cases they are replaced. So I think this gives like one more level of comfort, because if they are like it's saying here, high order spirits, and I went back to check, and if we go back to the three categories, we have like the first one, the perfect spirits, that Jesus belongs to this one. Then the second order, we have three classes, and the top one is called high order spirits. So I think in Portuguese we refer to them as superior spirits. So they are like close to that to be a perfect spirit, and then they are really, really above us on the evolution scale. So it's not like someone that's okay, I'm on one incarnation ahead of you and I will help you. No, they have like a lot of more, all their capabilities, all their faculties are developed enough to be on their position, and they can help us with everything that we need. And even those cases that they are really, really busy and they have to go to do something else, there will be someone to replace. So we always have someone in that position to help us. So it's like Carol was saying, it's comforting to know that we are, in Portuguese we say amparado, I don't know how to say that in English.
Supported,
Yeah, and I think that's a really good word to describe what I feel when I read those questions.
And I think it's interesting that when the question that Carol mentions to us, the 493, that the spirit is obliged to watch over because it accepted a task, and it is feel that sense of retribution, like because they know and they are aware that when they were in the same situation that we are right now, they had somebody helping them, so they are paying it forward. They're passing on to what they received. They feel the need of doing that to somebody else. So they are already detached from that selfishness and that pride and that ego that that they are. If they're able to do what somebody else did for them, they will do it and do everything they can to be able, because they understand. A lot of the times, we still don't understand. Sometimes people in our life, they help us and we forget about it and we move on. Somebody that help us do something in our job, and sometimes we remember, which is a sign already of our development. But it's sometimes we forget. But those spirits, they are aware. They're more aware of the situation, that we all brothers and sisters, that we are all connected, and they had help, so they feel like it's voluntary because they choose to do that task, but they feel the need to pay it forward, to retribute what they received. Then now is their opportunity to help other people, and so they've been through everything that we're going through, all the challenges we have, and all the difficulties, all the weaknesses that we have. They've been through it, so they already passed. In a way, they're like our tutors. They are there to help us and assist us and give us counsel, but it's up to us to decide and act upon those counsels, because as we know, we receive the gift of free will. We choose to follow the counsels or not, and they will continue to give us counsel if we listen to them. But if they're talking, they're giving to instructions, and we don't follow them, they're not going to be wasting their time. They wait patiently, they watch us and feel sorry for us, but they can't do much than that. They can't do the work for us, like in the other reading. We have to remove the rocks from the path. They're going to be telling us, remove the rock, remove the rock, remove the rock. But it's up to us to do that. So
that's why it should be a level of spiritism. If it was one of us watching someone else do a task and the person keeps doing it wrong, you're like, just let me do it, just let me do it. I'll just do it myself. It's okay.
Yeah.
So it needs to be very able to sit there and let the person get to the conclusion by themselves, and be there to support but not to take over. It's really hard. This is a very evolved stage of our evolution.
Yeah, one other interesting point is there is in their books, they mentioned that even our supporter had their own supporters, and from time to time they stop and connect to their support. How can I do here? What can I do here?
yeah, there's always help.
Cool. Any more comments? So let's go to our final prayer. let's close our eyes. Can you put me with this?
Mhm.
Always. Thank you, Maria. So let's close our eyes, calm our hearts, and elevate our thoughts so we can connect to our guardian angels, protector spirits. Let's start by thanking them to be present on our side, always helping us on our life, going through the challenge with us, always able to say the right thing for us, to help us see the right path so we can be successful in our lives, so we can evolve and someday being in their position helping someone else. We'd like to ask for the good spirits to send good vibration, our vibrations, to people that are still in war, so they can receive our good thoughts, and even if it's just for 1 minute, be refreshed and be able to continue with their lives, struggling a little bit, but knowing that that's not it, it's not all. We know that we have the afterlife, that here is not our real life, and here is just one small phase that we just need to learn and go through our trials and be able to overcome all of our bad habits, and hopefully with that energy you will be able to sleep better today and wake up renewed to one more day on their lives. We'd like to ask you for to send our vibrations, our good thoughts to people that are still struggling through the pandemic in China, in other countries, that they can be calm and understand the that the disease is here, for that we can look inside ourselves, to have time and stop what we are doing, think about what we have been doing, to think about what we really are and what are our goals and what are we are supposed to be doing with our lives. Would like to ask to send our vibration to our family, to our relatives, everyone that we know and love that is far away from us, that they receive our hug, our love, and they can keep going with their lives, even though they are far away from us. Would you like to ask that we can have protection and we can be able to go for one more week, always connected with the good spirits, and that we can be able to help everyone in need, everyone that we can meet during our work, during our way home, and everywhere that we go, that we can show what good spirit can be, so we can show to them with our example what Jesus told us and what Jesus teach us. Would you like to thank you for this week, that lovely week, with a lot of sunny days, with a lot of rain? Would you like to ask so you can magnetize the water here today, so you can receive the good fluids that's going to help us in everything that we need for this week? And once more, that we can be here next week, learning and practicing everything that you teach us, Jesus. Stay with us always, so be it. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely week.